Welcome to the show, the Dynasty Show on Tuesday. My bad. We're a little late tonight. I wasn't sure if we could do two shows at once because Huss is still doing the show that he's doing. So anyway, we got both shows going on right now at the same time. But what is good, everybody? Kevin in the house. Song, what's happening? Song said I'm selling all my RBs. Yeah, I mean selling RBs is always a good thing to do. Especially if you don't have any of those like top guys. I mean, it's hard. Like, and we're gonna do running back rankings and tiers soon, but yeah, once we do that, like, it's rough. After like the first 4 or 5 guys, it's kind of like anything can happen. There's a whole lot of RB2s. So Derek in the house. What up, Derek? Kev. Yeah, Hammer's still missing in action. I think he's getting back on hopefully next week. I know he was taking a short hiatus. If you need an RB, come holla. Yeah, I mean, not right now. I don't advise, you guys know me. I don't advise buying running backs at the moment in the off season. There's plenty of time for you to buy running backs, especially in season as well. So, Philip, what up, Philip? What's good? JC, are we doing a mock tonight? No, we're not doing a mock tonight. Sorry, JC. Maybe tomorrow. I mean, I might not go live for it, but we can still do one. For sure. Yeah, but what is up? What's going on with you guys? What's going on with your leagues? Are there trades? Are there players that you guys are going after or not going after, selling? Today we're going to talk about some players to sell. I've got a player for each position. So quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. It's over. CMC is cursed. What's good, Tino? Yeah, I don't know if he's necessarily cursed. I mean, CMC is just one of those outlier, running backs that is going to last a long time. Like he might have still another 2, 3 years. It might only be 1 year. Who knows? But I mean, he's going to be fine at least for the next couple years. And I think I talked about it maybe on a show previously. Like his usage is not like he's not getting 25 carries. Like he's getting a lot of pass catching as well. So he's getting what 15 to 20 carries, and then the rest is all pass catching. So he's getting like 25 or so opportunities, but it's mixed up where it's not like Derrick Henry 25 plus, 30 plus on the ground. He's not taking as much of a beating, but league is kind of ghost town. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of leagues. There's a lot of leagues right now, and mine as well, where it's kind of just it's quiet right now, especially one QB, but even super flex as well. It is very quiet at the moment because we're just at that point in the off season where like the rookie fever is starting to like settle down a little bit, and now that people are looking more into the veterans, right? It's always a good time to buy veterans in the off season when everybody has that rookie fever. But as we get closer to the season, that's going to start to shift. But there's not a lot going on right now, and a lot of people are doing startups. So if you're doing startups, like there's not much to trade right after the startup. Like everybody just kind of pick their guys. So it is going to get quiet in the next few months. But, once we hear news of things, that's when things start moving, right? Once we get news. Yeah, banging on doors. So, yeah, I mean, never hurts banging on doors. Always got to. Man, I got CMC on both covers, double curse. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Hustling Bruce, what up? What up, Bruce? Good evening. Would you trade May at 25 early first and AD Mitchell for Justin Herbert? I mean, if that 25 is guaranteed like early first, then probably not. If it was a late first, maybe, but if that is pretty guaranteed to be early, then I probably don't want to make that trade because you could keep May and you can get a quarterback next year as well if you need. Or can I go after somebody else maybe with some more upside, like a Kyler, if you have to pay a little bit more or not even. I mean, if it's an early first, you might be able to get Kyler. It's not horrible, but I probably just want to keep the first because what if May like turns out to be good? He's the next Justin Herbert or at least close enough in that range. So I probably want to keep the pick if it's going to be early. Currently, I'm not in a buy now window looking for picks, but people aren't willing to buy yet. So you're looking to sell then? Like, what are you looking to sell? I think fantasy would work with Travis Hunter if you hypothetically played both ways in the NFL. I mean, they probably just have him like where you can put him in both spots. Can you put him at wide receiver and DB? Or do they only put him at DB? But of course, he's still going to get the points a wide receiver would. I think whatever he's mainly going to play, they'll do. The chances that he acts in the NFL plays both sides of the ball is probably slim, or it's definitely probably not likely that he'll be like fantasy relevant enough unless like he's listed as like only a DB and he's playing mostly DB, but he's taking some snaps at wide receiver. But if he's playing, if they put him as a wide receiver, but he's playing mostly DB, but still getting some wide receiver work, then, he's not going to be that valuable. So it really kind of depends. So you would probably hope he's a DB. I think if I had to guess, the NFL is taking that and turning it into a DB. Can he play some wide receiver as well? Maybe, but I think his main position might be DB. Taylor, what's up, Taylor? Do you think Ramondre is undervalued in Dynasty? That's tough because there's a lot of talks about the contract right now. Is he going to get a new contract? Um, I think that we don't really know like the answer. It still is like they have new coaching there and everything. It's a new regime. So are they going to re-sign Ramondre? And what is Ramondre going to be? How are they going to use Ramondre or utilize him? Right? Is he going to be a three down workhorse? Or is he going to be in some sort of like committee? So it's still kind of like in limbo. So it's tough. But yeah, you can say I guess he is undervalued. Like if he does get the contract, obviously the value is going to jump up, right? So I think if you have Ramondre, like you're holding him right now, hoping he gets the contract, then you can move him if you want to. But how, is he going to be an RB1? Is he really getting like a real workload? That's like to remain to be seen. So there's still a lot of questions about Ramondre. It's very hard to rank him as well, especially now. So, I think his value definitely will go up, regardless, whether we know or not what they're going to do with him, automatically the value is going to go up. So there will be a time where, you might be able to get something good for Ramondre if that does happen. Maybe down to what team? Yeah, yeah, that depends. What's up, Jay? What's good, Jay? Would Sleeper and Yahoo allow a DB wide receiver one? I don't know if Sleep. I don't know. I don't know if they do it both. But he's probably going to be more valuable at the DB position. He would be like Taysom Hill, QB tight end. Yeah, then people would abuse him in the tight end slot when he started at QB. Yeah, yeah. Ramondre for a second right now. Yeah, you could. I mean, I'm not buying him yet. Like, maybe he does get the contract and he is the guy, but you guys, you never know who's going to get hurt like before the season. There's always guys that go down. You never know who that guy's going to be. Like, the price isn't going to be much different. If he does get the contract, like, are people still going to be willing to spend a first for him? Probably not. You're going to want a first for him if you have him, but realistically, like, there's very few guys that I want to pay a first round pick. Running backs. There's very few running backs that I want to pay a first round pick for. Leggett, I'm torn. One of the hardest players to gauge. Have two shares and unsure what this dude's going to be. He's a coin toss. What's your thoughts? I mean, those are exactly the thoughts. He's a coin toss. Most guys are a coin toss. What's the best case scenario for Xavier Leggett? I mean, he's playing X wide receiver. That's where they want him to play. He's got some issues like playing at the X as far as like his route running, being able to get off the press coverage. So, does that stunt his growth like they did Mingo? Like Mingo is not an X receiver. Like he should have been utilized in the slot and they put him outside. And that's like those were all of his weaknesses and like he couldn't succeed in it. So, can Leggett succeed in it? Maybe. I mean, the odds are against him already just because of his production in college, right? He had one good year in college, his last season when he was older than everybody. And, typically that doesn't translate well to the NFL, but like he does have decent draft capital or good draft capital. And like he has a shot, but you're on a team with a guy that commands targets. The Deontay Johnson is a guy that commands targets. So like he's the target hog. So, what can Leggett be? Like, can he get much better in the NFL? Yes. Like, can he be a DK Metcalf? Like, we had questions about DK Metcalf coming in. Like, sure, but that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, he's a bust. Like, typically, it always somehow, or most of the time, it falls somewhere like in the middle. Like, maybe he's not a bust, but he's not DK, right? So where does that leave him? For me, it's not even just about like what I think. It's more of like what is the market going to think? Like Leggett's not a guy that I'm looking to build my team around, or like I don't necessarily care or want him to turn into a DK Metcalf. But if he has a good game or two, like or just the perception, like somebody thinks that he's going to be the guy, like take that opportunity to get something more, to get something more concrete. Or to take a first round pick for next season. Like send me that two for Stevenson, Song said. There you go. Song said Leggett sucks. He could, but just the odds are stacked against him, and I don't think they're gonna have him in a position that's good for him. Like that being on that X on the outside is not necessarily the best spot for him to go. JC said, I still have Chubb. I've been shopping him for a while, but no offer. Yeah. Currently thinking about just holding him, and if he starts off getting 17 points, then selling him. Then, yeah, I mean, you're not going to get much for him. If you can only get a fourth, then yeah, I guess it's worth it to hold him just in case, like he comes back and has a good game. Maybe somebody will believe in him in that point to give you a third, or a second. Like, can you try and get a third instead? Like, can you give Chubb and a fourth to try and get somebody's third? Or can you hide him in a trade, like trade for somebody and just have Chubb in that trade where you're kind of like hiding it. You're just throwing him in there because I doubt that the Browns let Chubb come back whenever he does. They're saying they don't even know if he's going to be ready for the start of the season now. Like, whenever that time comes that he does play, like, what's the realistic chances that they're just gonna say, "Take on your 25 plus carry workload that we typically give you." I don't think they're doing that. Like, that wouldn't necessarily be smart, right? So, I don't know what Chubb ever is gonna be again. I have no Chubb. If I can, if I can get a third, if I can only get a fourth, then, like, I'll take it, unless you just wanna wait it out and see if, maybe you can get somebody closer to the season. Maybe there's news that Chubb is gonna be ready for the start of the season, and then, like, you have an opportunity, another sell window right there. There's no rush at the moment, but Emil, what's up, Emil? Had the 402 in my rookie draft and offered that and Chubb for late thirds, and they all declined. Yeah, because it's the rookie draft. Everybody has the rookie fever. Everybody loves all the rookies. So, people are hot on the rookies where, you can't get that. I mean, I couldn't get rid of like Derrick Henry for a second round pick because everybody loves all these guys, right? You couldn't get rid of even like you couldn't get a first for guys like Tank Dell, JSN. Like people don't want them because all these new rookies are coming in and everybody loves the rookies. Like so it's hard like during the draft, so you're better off waiting or trying to get a 25 pick, even a 26 pick. Like, can you get a 26 third? Like, so Emil said, "What can we sell Kittle for in a 2 QB superflex league?" What can you sell Kittle for? I mean, it depends who needs him, really. I mean, he's probably worth like a midish to late second. Now who's gonna actually buy him? Like, it's gonna have to be a team that needs to start a tight end, right? Can you go to the Hawkinson owner maybe, or maybe there's a team in your league that maybe is ready to compete and they don't have a tight end, or they have like a Fryermuth or a Komet maybe. Maybe they're a little down on Komet because of all the weapons they got there now. Like, you got to find a team like that. Find a team that needs a tight end, and then you can determine the price from that or who you want to get back in return. Because you can easily say he's worth a mid second or a late second, but who's going to actually pay that? That's a different story, right? KTC will give you a price of what they're worth, but doesn't mean that you can just go out and make that trade in your league, right? Somebody has to need that player. There has to be a demand for that player. Late third, that's Theo Johnson territory. Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk about some guys that I've got on my sell list for today. So I've got a guy at each position. Let's start with the quarterback position. So the quarterback that I'm selling right now is Will Levis. Will Levis right now, let's refresh this. Will Levis is QB 21 right now on Keep Trade Cut. What is Will Levis's like ceiling, right? They've went out, right? Let's talk about the situation. So, situation for Will Levis, they went out and got some of these weapons around him, right? You've got Ridley over there now. You still got D Hop, like they've got Tony Pollard now. Like they're trying to give some weapons around Levis for him to work with. But like, what's the ceiling on Will Levis? How much higher can he really go, right? I mean, right, Jared Goff is QB 18 right now. He ain't going no higher than Jared Goff. I mean, Will Levis is a second round pick. He didn't get the first round draft capital. Like, yes, he was picked in the early second, but that matters. Is he the QB of the future? I don't think he is. So right now, like, is a good sell window. We talk about sell windows at the peak, right? Is Will Levis at the peak of what he's valued at right now at QB 21? Like Bryce Young is up there, JJ McCarthy, Jared Goff, Drake May, Tua. Like you'd rather have any of those guys, right? Even go underneath Will Levis. You're looking at the Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Baker, Kirk, Deshaun Watson. I'd rather have all of those guys than I do a Will Levis, right? I do not feel safe with Will Levis. And this is the year, like this is it. He's got this shot right now, this year, to prove that he's the guy for the future. And if that doesn't happen, the value is going to tank and you are left with nothing. What can you get? What other players? Let's see what other players are around. Will Levis, value-wise here. Josh Jacobs, Deebo Samuel, Rashard White, Jaden Reed, Isaiah Pacheco. Much rather have any of those guys. You can go past Will Levis. You're looking at Trey Benson, Mike Evans, Rashee Rice, Christian Kirk. Like I'd rather have any of those guys than Will Levis. I don't want to risk on Will Levis. Like again, what is the ceiling for Will Levis? Like, and look at his games last year. He had that first game, right? He threw the 4 touchdowns. And he was QB, I think he was QB 12 that week. No, QB 6, right? So that first week he played week 8, QB 6. After that, no higher than QB 15. He was QB 15 to QB 31 all those other weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 weeks that he played. Of the 8 weeks, one QB6 finished. The next highest was QB 15. He's got a QB 17, a QB 18, QB 20, QB 26, QB 31. That's replaceable level. That is replaceable level production that you can get from any starting quarterback that is playing that week. From Gardner Minshew, Jameis Winston, if he winds up playing like that, you can use anybody. That's just replacement level work. But he hasn't played a game yet in this new season. He's got weapons around him. Let somebody else make the bet on Will Levis. So, what do you guys think about Will Levis? Are you buying Will Levis or are you selling Will Levis? Because if he goes out and just doesn't have a good game, even week 1, week 2, like he's not having great games, the value is going to tank. And even if he does have good games, even if he is playing well, again, how high up, like, can he really go? How much more value can he really put on himself with all the guys that are ahead of him? Like, the upside is just not there. Tino said Russell Wilson. Yeah, I mean, we should have been sold Russell Wilson. I mean, at this point, you're not getting much for him because there's just no security for Russell Wilson. Most people think that Fields is going to wind up taking over. Yeah, Will is dead. Just knew you was going with Levis. Would you trade Levis for Zay? Yeah, I'll take Zay Flowers easy. Give me Zay Flowers. Much more comfortable with Zay Flowers. Much more safer floor insulation. Trade value. Like absolutely. Listen, I was right about Kenny Pickett. I never thought Kenny Pickett was the future, and I've always said that. He wind up not being it. I don't know if Will Levis is. I just don't see the upside. I don't see it, even with weapons that are around him. He's got no excuse now. They will replace him. I got offered 3 consecutive firsts for Jordan Love. Superflex, he finished 8th out of 12 last year. but he'd improve with love. I'm a Packer fan, so I'd like an unbiased opinion. I'm not doing it. I'm not taking 3 consecutive firsts. 25, 26, 27. No. You give me 3 25 firsts, then we're talking, but 3 consecutive firsts? No. I'm not doing that. No reason to do that. If I'm gonna give up an asset, especially a guy like Jordan Love, where like he played great last year, finished what QB5 last year. Philip gifted a membership. Appreciate you, Philip. Shout out to Philip for gifting a membership. Um, but yeah, I mean, no, Jordan Love finished what QB5, I think it was, right? And he didn't get the contract yet. And we know what happens when these guys get the contract, right? The value shoots up because now you have that insulation, that safety that people are looking for in the quarterback. Jordan Love goes out there, or maybe he doesn't even have to go out there yet. Maybe it happens before the season and he gets a contract. Now the value is going up even higher. So if I'm giving up Jordan Love, like I want something more concrete, or I want, a top guy at another position, or I want like the first to be something worth it for me. Give me 3 firsts in 2025, not just 3 consecutive firsts. They're just throwing everything at you that they have, and that's the bullshit ones that you don't want to take. Like, yes, it is 3 firsts, and you can make the argument to just say, yeah, like you can take the 3 firsts, especially if you have other quarterbacks and Jordan Love is like your QB3 and you just want the picks because you can get that now. But no, I think that Jordan Love still has a possible chance at ascension from where he's at now. Well, actually, he's QB10 right now, so I don't know how much more he can go up. You know, Anthony Richardson gets hurt. Herbert doesn't have a good season. Maybe Caleb finishes like as a QB2. Like then you can see Jordan Love up there in like QB 6, 7, up there with Joe Burrow, Hurts, Lamar. Like that's a possibility. Philip, another membership. Appreciate you, Philip. Philip gifting out another membership. Shout out to Philip again. Trying to fire up Levis. Levis is a sleeper QB. Dude slings it for more than 20 plus top 5 to do it. Yeah, no. Trying to fire up Levis. Well, I mean, listen, it didn't work last year. After that first, like, all it took was that one game. People got fired up about Levis. Let me pull up that again. He had 4 touchdowns that week. He didn't throw a touchdown until 3 weeks later. He went 2 weeks without throwing a touchdown after that. And then he had, a bunch of games throwing under 200 yards. And like the rushing wasn't there either. Like he didn't show any rushing upside. It 7 carries for 11 yards one week, one one carry the next week, 4 carries after that, 3, 2, 4, 4, nothing over 11 yards. And then he had 4 for 15 and 4 for 25 the last 2 weeks. So like he's not using his legs either. So we don't have the rushing upside that we thought like maybe that we should have. He's just not that kind of passer, I don't think. Buy, sell, or hold Kirk Cousins. Um, I think a lot of guys, like any player, you can make the case to either buy him or sell him or hold him, just depending on like your situation and your league format, right? So if you have Kirk Cousins, you are most likely contending. So in that case, like I'm gonna hold on to him. Um, if I'm buying him, like I'm buying him for cheap or trying to buy him cheap as my QB3, which might be hard to do. That's the only case where I would buy him if I need a QB3 and I can get him like thrown in a trade. Maybe somebody is trying to rebuild and they don't need Kirk Cousins, but that would be the only case I'm buying it. Like I'm not you don't want to trust those older guys as your QB2 like going in and not having like a solid QB3 because we see how these guys get hurt. We saw Kirk Cousins, right, go down. We saw Aaron Rodgers go down, right? Russell Wilson, I mean, got benched in your championship game. Like it's hard to trust any of those guys. And Russell Wilson, we thought like had was safe because he had the contract. We thought he was safe. He wasn't safe. So I'm holding Kirk Cousins if I'm contending, of course. Um, unless there's a deal where you can move off and get something better. If I can get a good deal on Kirk Cousins, and I don't even know what that would look like or entail. I mean, you need a running back, you need a wide receiver. I mean, Kirk is not necessarily worth that much, especially after Michael Penix going to the Falcons. Like it's really only a 2-year window. He's coming off, a knee injury. So that's tough. But yeah, I mean, typically I'm trying to either come off of Kirk Cousins or I'm holding him just because I'm competing. I would sell Levis. He's a replaceable fantasy cube. Exactly, JC. That's exactly how I feel about him. And the production proves that. The guys that are ahead of him, just like value wise, like there's not much up for Will Levis to go, even if he does particularly well. Like he just doesn't have the upside. Sam Howell vibes this year with Tennessee. Yeah, and where'd that get Sam Howell? I mean, nowhere. I mean, well, I guess you could say he's in Seattle now. He has a possible chance, but I think Sam Howell is just a bona fide backup QB. He'll be a QB2, forever. I mean, Will Levis, like, can he even be that? Is he even capable of that? I don't know. I don't know if Will Levis can necessarily like actually throw the rock. I mean, he's got an arm. Like, well, let me rephrase that. He can throw it. He has an arm, yes. But is he accurate with his arm? And can he, read the defense and be smart about it? Those were things that Will Levis wasn't good at, like processing information, assessing the defense, understanding what to do. And we saw that last year, right? After that first game, I mean, he was just ineffective because he was trying to throw bombs. I feel you, Bogey. I ain't going for it. I ain't going for it. Yeah, the security is not there. He wasn't a first round pick. Like, so they didn't commit that to him. But, I give them credit for at least trying to surround him with pieces that can help, right? Pieces that can maybe make him okay. But I'm not going for it. If there's a chance to move off a Levis, you want to take that opportunity. Could he succeed? Yeah, sure. But again, what's the upside? Take advantage now. Take advantage now. He'll never be a top 12 guy or a top 15 guy. He just won't. So he just doesn't matter. He doesn't matter, unfortunately. So why bet on that? So any spike window, any chance, like right now, where they've got guys around them, people are like, oh, Will Levis is a sleeper. Will Levis is a young QB. Like, he could be, the next guy. No, there's no reason to make that bet. If you're unsure about that player, like use the opportunity when the value is there to move them, to get rid of them. Yeah, if he don't prove it this year, he is for sure most likely gone. Well, I wouldn't say gone, but not the starting quarterback the next year. They probably bring somebody in. Malik has points for competitions and negatives. or completions, I'm guessing, and negatives for incompletions. Yeah, so it's 58 percentage completion hurts his value in my league. Yeah, you don't want him. You don't want him. Will, what up, Will? What's good? Remember Sam Howell versus Spencer Rattler talks early on for the number 1 pick in 2022. Yeah, well, a lot of things change. Stevie B said, "Ain't going for it." No, I'm not going for it, bro. Not falling into that, man. Not falling into that. Will said, "What player would you give up for the 102 in Dynasty? Guaranteed to get neighbors or Odunze. Harrison will be 101." So I'm guessing this is a 1 QB league, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But if Harrison goes 101, you're guaranteed to get neighbors at the 102. What's the what's the format here as far as like the 1 QB? How many starters is it? Is it like start 8 in total, like add up QB, RB, wide receiver, tight end, don't count defense or kicker, just the offensive players. How how short are we talking? And is it 10 team or 12 team? Philip just on it tonight. Appreciate you, Philip. You the man. Gifted another membership. Would Pittman be enough? Pittman probably won't be enough. I mean, I've got neighbors over Pittman. But like you never know. Pittman and would be enough. Pittman and Ridley for the 102 and Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah, I'd do that easily. I'd rather have I think you had asked about this Hutchinson last stream, but yeah, if I can get Neighbors and Hutchinson, I'd rather have that than Pittman and Ridley for sure. Yeah, man. So like, who do you have on your squad that you can give up? Obviously, Pittman is sounds like the guy that you want to give up, but it's hard to say. Like, if you're gonna give up a pick like the 102 and like a guy like Neighbors, and again, is it a league where people are pretty sharp, or is it more like a home league where like people don't necessarily love Neighbors because he's on the Giants and they suck, or it kind of depends. And what do those teams need? What does that guy need? The guy that has the 102, what does he need on his team? Does he need wide receivers? Does he need more than one wide receiver? Right? Is the Pittman and Ridley like is that enticing to him? Does that make him feel like his team is better? When you want somebody to give up like a really good asset, a high asset, you have to give them something that they need in return, right? I'm just not going to hand anybody, a neighbor's unless I'm getting back something that really makes sense for me and helps my team. For me, Pittman and Ridley, no, I'll just keep neighbors, right? But everybody's different and every league is different. You know your league better than I do. So 1 QB. Okay, so it's 10 team. All right, so yeah, that's important. 10 team is you need as many hammers as you can get, really. One, two, three, four, 6, 7, 8. So it's like start 9, basically 10 team. Okay, so that's kind of like a start 12. I mean, start 8, 12 team, I guess. Um, so yeah, you definitely want neighbors. I definitely want. I want the higher scoring guys or the guys that can be the highest scoring guys. Is that going to help you right away off the bat? Like maybe not, but he's an asset for sure. Jameson or Watson, I could trade. Yeah, I mean those guys. I throw both of those guys in there. Those are guys that are probably not even seeing the starting lineup, right? In a 10 team, like he needs wide receivers, so maybe overwhelm him with some wide receivers that fixes his problem. So he specifically asked for Pittman and Ridley. So you're already 90% there, bro. He told you exactly what he wants, and it's best ball. Okay. All right, it's best ball. So that kind of all right, that changes things a little bit. Um, I still take neighbors over. over Pittman and Ridley, but guys like Jameson and Watson, like those guys I kind of want in best ball, even in like the shallow format, because those are the guys that have those big spike weeks. Like, they catch a bomb, and score a touchdown. Like in best ball, those guys are a lot more valuable than they are in like a lineup league. Wide receivers are stacked. Okay, wide receivers are stacked. JJ, AJ Brown. Okay, so listen, you've got all right. So you've got JJ, you've got AJ Brown, you've got Amon Ra, you've got Waddle. So in that case, like fine, like give up what you want, I guess, to go get a neighbors for that potential, just going after that kind of potential, then for sure, give that up, man. If you ask for Pittman and Ridley, send it with Pittman and Ridley. Add one other thing on top. I don't know whether it's a pick or maybe some other wide receiver. Try and see if you could keep Jameson or Watson. But if you got to give up one of those guys, like I mean, I'm okay with it. Like you got plenty of firepower, plenty of guys that are going to have massive weeks. Like you've got top guys, so I wouldn't give up both of those guys. But yeah, either Jameson or Watson. I'd probably say Watson just because they have a bunch of guys there, and the guy can't stay healthy, and the value is kind of up right now. So he's got recent news that they figured out what's going on with his thigh. So yeah, go for it, man. If you gotta throw in Watson, throw in Watson. AJ McCarron, the true Bengal, victim of the Bengals Steelers playoff game. He wins that game and he actually gets a chance to be a full-time starter somewhere. Yeah. I mean, you never know. Just depends on the opportunity. So let's talk about the next sell. Let's go into the running back. And I'm all about selling the running backs, especially at their peaks. Devon Achane, Kyron Williams. We told everybody to sell these guys, to the end of the season to sell these guys when they were at their peak. But we're not going to talk about those guys today. The running back that I'm looking to sell right now is Zamir White. Right, the value's up. Like there's nobody really there. Like they've got Alexander Madison who couldn't hold down the Vikings job, right? They've got Dylan Lobb. Does he become the third down guy? Does he become the pass catching guy? Yeah, possibly. I mean, Zamir White wasn't really necessarily looked at in the pass game. I mean, of the 4 games he played at the end of the season, he had 4 targets, 1 target, 6 targets, and 2 targets. So didn't necessarily get a ton of pass work. And as another guy, like what is Zamir White's ceiling? Like right now, he is RB20 on Keep Trade Cut. RB20. And Jacobs is gone, so automatically the community people think that he is the next guy up. And they didn't really address the position like we thought they might. So he's safe. Like RB, what did I say 20? He's RB21 right now. Um, But yeah, people think that he's safe, and he could be for this season. But again, what's the ceiling? Like, he's not going to be the guy for the future. Like, he's not. He's not that good enough to be the guy for the future. That's just not going to happen. And what did he do last year in those 4 games? It seems like he did well, right? I mean, he had 145 yards, 112 yards. So 2 out of the 4 games, he had over 100 yards. He had no less than 17 carries in those 4 games. 17 to 25 carries in every game that he played fully. Now, he was on the field for about 70-ish% of the snaps, a little over 70-ish% of the snaps. So it wasn't like he was playing 100% of the snaps to begin with. So you know that Madison or Lobb is going to get at least a little bit of work. But how good is this team really going to be? How good is the team really going to be? And even with having those 100-yard games, he only finished as RB12 once. He had one RB 1 week. Other than that, he was RB12 that first week, RB15 the next week, RB20 the week after that, RB16 the week after that. He's a mid to late RB2. What are we getting excited about? So if there's anybody that wants Zamir White or thinks that he's going to be the next big thing, it's not going to happen. Does he have an opportunity for this particular season to like go off? Yeah, maybe. But again, how good is that team? What's the chances that that happens? Right now, while the value is there, take the opportunity to move off Zamir White. You know, what are some RBs that are around Zamir White's range right now? Joe Mixon, give me Joe Mixon. Tajay Spears, give me Tajay Spears. Give me a piece on top of it if I have to. Give me David Montgomery, who was ranked behind Zamir White. Give me Blake Corum, who's ranked after that. I'll take a little piece on top. Give me a third on top. Javante, Stevenson, Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, Alvin Kamara. I would rather have every one of those guys. Kendre Miller, give me Kendre in a small piece. Brian Robinson, give me Brian Robinson in a small piece. Jalen Wright, Zach Moss, Tony Pollard. I'd rather have all of those guys than Zamir White. Give me a piece on top. I'll take all of those guys. They're all RB2s. They're all exactly the same thing. They've got 1 or 2 seasons maybe left. They're all the same. Give me any of those guys. So what do you guys think about Zamir White? Are you selling Zamir White or are you buying into Zamir White? What are your thoughts? You also have Puka Will. Jesus Christ. In that case, try and go get CeeDee Lamb. Try and go get Jamar Chase. Like, try and get one of those guys. Go after running backs. Like, the wide receivers are stacked. Do you need some better, some more running backs or something else? Emil said, I'm selling Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is another good, he's another good sell. But what are people paying for him? Does anybody really want Josh Jacobs right now with all the hype on Marshawn Lloyd? Like, now is not really the time to sell him. Like, you're not getting top dollar for him. Like, I'm all for selling Josh Jacobs, but what can you actually get for him? What is somebody really willing to pay? Now that everybody knows he's kind of on like a 1 year contract, maybe two. A declining player, an older player, a ton of hype on Marshawn Lloyd, even that Marshawn Lloyd is going to have a role. So it's tough. JC said, sell Zach Moss. Chase Brown is going to be the best fantasy option for RBs in Cincy. I like both of those guys. They're cheap. They're cheap. They're on a good offense. They're going to give you good production. I love Chase Brown. I've got Chase Brown everywhere. All ears on selling Zamir White. Who can we get? Yeah, all the running backs I had just mentioned in that range. Let me see what wide receivers are. What wide receivers are in that range? So yeah, all right. We talked about running backs, the wide receivers in that range. I mean, Chris Godwin, Stephon Diggs, Christian Watson, Deontay Johnson. That would be I'd love to get a Deontay Johnson if I could for Zamir White. JMO, Calvin Ridley, Jalen Polk. I mean, so can we use Zamir White to tier down to any of those running backs that we talked about, or can you use them to tier up? You can do that as well. Can you tier up to? I don't even know if I necessarily even want to tier up. Again, I don't love buying running backs, especially right now, but can you get a Rashard White? Like, that would be a really good I would like that. Like, people are a little bit down on Rashard White, like, they said they're gonna give some touches um, to Bucky Irving, and Bucky catches the ball too, so, like, the value on Rashard White has went down, like, he's RB 14 right now on Keep Trade Cut. He was a top 10-ish guy. People love Rashard White. He finished as what, RB 4 last year? I think it was top 5 RB. Like, can you add something on top? Can you add a second on top? Can I get a Trey Benson if I add something? I'd rather even have a Swift. Song said no. Josh Jacobs finished as a top 3 at the position for the Raiders multiple times. I think a lot of people are just automatically putting White in that category. Yeah, I mean, but that's Josh Jacobs. Like, Zamir White's not Josh Jacobs. Like, he's gonna. You're right, Song. Like, he is gonna get the volume, but again, what is that volume turning into? He, he ran over 100 yards twice in the 4 games he played. It didn't turn into a RB1 week, not once. Like, RB12 was the best that he finished. Can that change if the offense is better and he's scoring touchdowns? Like, sure, but are we really that confident in this offense? We don't really even know who the quarterback is right now. Does somebody want to get off one of those old guys because somebody thinks Zamir White is that next guy? Just like everybody thought Tony Pollard. We told you stay away from Tony Pollard. He's not going to be that guy. Turn Zamir in the mix and I do it. Yeah. If I could only get Chase and Lamb. I mean, if you can't get those guys, you have CMC, Walker, Jones, Amir. Yeah, so I mean, see if you could get another hammer running back. Like, can you go after the Bijans, Gibbs, Breeses? Like, you've got enough firepower to just throw a whole bunch of shit at somebody. Yeah, Chase Brown, I got a ton of. All the backup running backs, they're always good to have. You don't know which one is gonna turn out to be that league winner, but somebody's always getting hurt. So the more running backs you have, the better chance that at least one or maybe two of those guys turn into the Zach Mosses, Jerome Fords. Like, yeah, I feel you. Even Mixon, who wasn't really that efficient, just when the volume is there on a good team, there's going to be plenty of times where they're in the red zone down at the goal line. Like, thoughts about Monty? Monty is like massively underrated. Massively underrated. Let's pull up Monty real quick. So Monty last year finished RB 17, even with missing 3 games. Had about 219 carries, 1,015 yards, 13 tutties, only 16 catches, 24 targets. Obviously, Gibbs is the guy that they're throwing it to out of the backfield, but yeah, Monty's an underrated mid to late RB2. I mean, that's just what he is. That's what he's always been in his career. And they don't need him to carry some kind of crazy workload. Like, ideally they probably want to give him, 15 touches. If you look at some of the games, I mean, 12 carries, 15, 18, 10, 17, 17, 14, a couple catches as well. So 32 attempts one game. I think Gibbs was out that game. 19, 21, 16. So yeah, I mean, listen, 15 to 15 touches, give or take, but valuable touches, right? Goal line touches, right? Touchdowns. And it's a way to keep Gibbs healthy, right? Because Gibbs is awesome. right? He's got the efficiency, but the more you give, the more work that you're getting, the less efficient you're just going to be. And that's just natural, right? We saw that with Tony Pollard. Just because he's getting more work doesn't mean he's still going to go crazy, right? Achan was averaging what, like 7 yards a carry or something like that. Give him 25 carries. Number one, he's not going to hold up, but number two, he's not going to average 7 yards a carry at that clip, right? But the efficiency is there. So he's got a guy to spell him a little bit. So I think Monty he's always going to be solid. He's still going to be the goal line guy. He's going to have double digit touchdowns. He's going to RB2 all day. He's an RB2. He's got another maybe 1 or 2 years. I mean, it's hard to project any of the guys other than like Bijan, Gibbs, and Brees like for more than 1 or 2 years. It's hard to bet on any running back after that. Joe Mixon always caught a bunch of balls. Yep. Zach Moss could fill into a bunch of receptions, probably 35-ish. Yeah, he could as well. Johnson for Zamir would be mint. Yep. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers could be enough to take the top off and make defense play honest. Won't see stacked boxes. I mean, they had the same thing last year. They had Michael Mayer. Like, it's not much change. Still Devontae, still Jacoby. You know, you're almost begging the offense to beat you throwing the football with whoever the quarterback is, right? So that could go both ways. I don't know. But even still, like it's going to come down to how good that offense is and, how many times they can get near the goal line, how many touchdowns can he get? Because we saw last year, right? All those games, 20 plus carries, it's just an RB2 finish. Yeah, he did okay. He didn't do great. Sell Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones could never stay healthy. I don't have any Aaron Jones. No, no reason to go out and get Aaron Jones. He's a guy that if he does stay healthy, you want to buy him like during the season, like before the trade deadline, maybe. When you know that he's healthy and he's actually playing well, like there's no reason to go and buy him right now. So, who's even gonna buy Aaron Jones and at what price right now, right? With all the rookies and stuff, like Debo from Fantasy Bros, that huge crow with that Pollard take last year. It was his RB1 predict. Oh, was it really? Yeah, I didn't even know that. I like Debo though. I listen to some of his stuff. But yeah, no, here on this channel, we stayed away from Pollard. We preached kind of staying away from Pollard. Took a ton of hate on Instagram, on Tony Pollard takes, but like he was just better off in the role that he was. He's not built to take on that full workload, and like that showed last year. Right. And now this year, like he's got Spears with him as well. So he doesn't have to take on the full workload. Like he's best and most efficient when getting, the touches that he should get, whether 12 to 15, whatever it is. Like he couldn't take on that full workload. And he was coming back from the injury as well. So there was just a lot going against him and everybody loved him. And it just didn't work out. I mean, he was horrible. He was horrible. Good player, but just better at being what he is, right? Achan, and we'll talk about this when we do the running back rankings, but Achan just is what he is. He's that 8 to 12 touch guy. That's his role. He's always going to have that role, and the Dolphins are just they're okay with that. Some guy, like not everybody is a 3 down workhorse guy. Like, does it happen sometimes because of situation and guys get injured? Yes. But for like the long run, like no, teams don't want to have one guy. Again, unless you're one of those elite players. It was offered Amon Ra. What's up, skeptic? Well, I was offered Amon Ra for Bijan in point 0.5 point dynasty. Would you would still have Brees, Mixon, Singletary, and Zeke? Thoughts? So is this one QB or is this super flex? And how many starters are we talking about here? If you add up all the offense, QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, how many starters does that equal? Don't count defense, no kickers, no defense. This way I can give you kind of a better answer. On the typical, I want Amon-Ra, like I want the wide receiver. But if you're playing in like a more shallower league where there's not as many starters, or if it's one QB or a 10 team, like then I might want Bijan in certain situations. One QB, two running backs, three wide receivers, a tight end, a flex. So it's a start eight. It's a shallow. So I mean, you have Brees, like you have the main guy. Like, what are your wide receivers look like right now? And it's 10 teams. So I'm leaning more Bijan just because the running backs are a little more valuable, especially in a 10 team. Like, you're gonna have a major advantage having Bijan and Brees as your two running backs. But what does your wide receiver room look like? Like, if your wide receiver room is trash, then yeah, maybe I'll take Amon-Ra. Like, but what does the wide receiver room look like? Or did I miss it? Did you put it in here? I love Bijan. Also have Amon-Ra. Wait, you love Bijan, but you also love Amon-Ra. Okay, like a solid wide receiver one. Okay, worried about an Amon-Ra regression after him and Goff got their back. I wouldn't worry necessarily about a regression. I mean, he's the guy. He's the guy. I mean, let me pull up Amon-Ra for you. I mean, regression. All we've seen is ascension. I mean, wide receiver 21 and 21, wide receiver 7 in 2022, wide receiver 3 in 2023. I mean, 164 targets. Like nothing's really changed for the Lions, right? Nothing's changed. He's still the guy. They didn't bring in anybody. Like Laporta is still there, but so Jared Goff last year threw the ball 600 times. He threw it about what 20ish more times than he did in 2022. Like, I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily anything to worry about Amon-Ra. I think he's pretty much locked in as like a top five finish. A wide receiver one for sure. I mean, if he's getting 160 targets, 150 plus targets, he did have 10 touchdowns. He had 6 touchdowns the year before that, 5 the year before that. I mean, touchdowns can go up and down, of course, but I don't know if I'm be worried about necessarily much regression from Amon-Ra. He's the go-to guy. They both got the bags. They're tied together now. I'm not worried about it. Yeah, I think he's definitely stuck with Aaron Jones right now. There's no way you're probably not getting much. Great pilot. Take appreciate you, Will. Albert, what up, Albert? What's up? London, Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Odunze, Dotson. Dude, yeah, you definitely need some wide receivers. So yeah, that's probably a move I'd make. Were you getting was offered Amon-Ra for Bijan? Can you get a plus on top of it? If he sent that to you, just try and get something else thrown in there as well. Like you definitely need a wide receiver. I mean, it's 10 team. Like you still got Brees, so you've got a hammer running back, and you've got some other guys that you could plug in at the RB2 slot. But there's no way, like I don't know if there's no way you're winning with that wide receiver room in a 10 team. So yeah, I think I want to make this deal. I just want to get more, try and get a little bit more than Amon-Ra. Get something else thrown in there. Can you get some kind of backup running? Well, I mean, you got Mixon, you got Singletary, you got Zeke. Is there a backup running back that you could get thrown in there? Maybe another wide receiver that you can use to maybe cheer up. You also have Mostert. So yeah, I mean, you've got a bunch of RBs you can plug in as a RB2. So yeah, get Amon-Ra, see if you could get something thrown on top because I think like in that format, like Bijan might be worth a little bit more. Shallow format, start a 10 team like Diaz in the building. What up, Diaz? Appreciate you, Diaz. Yeah, smash that like, guys. Smash the subscribe if you're new. Appreciate you. Be worried about Amon-Ra if they brought anyone in. I'd be worried about Amon-Ra if they brought anyone, and I mean anyone in. Could be, but are they going to? Like, are they going to be willing to pay another wide receiver to bring in like that? I don't know if they necessarily need to, right? I mean, you got Gibbs who can kind of run out of the slot, catch balls out of the backfield, so it's a possibility. JMO's definitely not that guy. I'm not worried about JMO. JMO's gonna have maybe some spike weeks. He'll catch a bomb here and there, but you're not worried about JMO when it comes to when it comes to Amon-Ra there. Huss in the building. What up, Huss? You mentioned Amon-Ra and Pacheco. Amon-Ra and Pacheco for London. Yeah, yeah, they didn't bring anyone in. Okay, Diaz, my bad. Maybe I misread it. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Nobody should be. He mentioned Amon-Ra and Pacheco for London and Bijan. So you'd be giving up Bijan and London, and you're getting Amon-Ra and Pacheco. Um, I gotta think about this one. Let's see. No, I mean you're losing London, which you don't want to lose. Like I don't want to give up London if I don't have to. Like let's not go crazy. Give me Amon-Ra and a piece, and I'll give you Bijan. Like you don't necessarily even need Pacheco. Like I think Diaz put in here. Can you get a second or something like that? Right? Send Bijan some player in a second for Amon-Ra and a 26 first. So yeah, that could be a good idea too. Add some more. Is that something that you can do? Like, I don't want to give up London. Like that, London is the only other like valuable and like even productive piece that you have. Where's your wide receivers at? London, yeah, Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Odunze. I mean, yeah, Delta from Ra to London is not Bijan to Pacheco. That's a bad 2 for 2 when you lose your second wide receiver in the deal. Yeah, like I don't want to lose London. You shouldn't have to. It shouldn't be that complicated. Like, sometimes it's just better make it simple, right? Can you try and get Amon-Ra in the first? Like Diaz said, add Bijan something in a second to try and get a first. Like, sure, you can try and do something like that, or just make it simple. Like, give me Amon-Ra and something for Bijan. X for a late second. Okay. Yeah. Will said throwing Keenan Allen instead. You probably don't have to. But yeah, see how that works? See if that works out. Next guy up. Next guy that I'm selling in Dynasty. Let's go to the wide receiver position. The wide receiver I'm looking to sell right now is Chris Olave. Chris Olave is wide receiver 10. Chris Olave, wide receiver 10 right now on Keep Trade Cut. Let me pull it up. No, wide receiver 11. So Chris Olave, wide receiver 11 right now on Keep Trade Cut. He's got Derek Carr as his damn QB. Um, it hasn't been it hasn't been what we thought it should be, especially when, Derek Carr was like a good deep ball thrower. We saw what he did with Devontae. Just hasn't necessarily been what we want for Olave. I mean, wide receiver 25 his rookie season, wide receiver 16 last season, 1,100 yards, 87 catches, 138 targets, only 5 tutties, right? The offense is just not that good. But are we ever going to get the quarterback for Chris Olave to ascend him into that wide receiver one, like that we value him as? Like he holds so much value right now where he's a wide receiver 11. Like, look at all the guys that are after him. Can you move down to any of these guys and grab some kind of piece on top? Drake London, Brandon Ayuk, Nico Collins, Devonta Smith, Michael Pittman. Like, can you go down further? Maybe you can get a first for like a DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers. Maybe you add another piece so you can try and get a first back, right? T. Higgins. I mean, all these guys are in the same range. They're all giving you the same wide receiver two production. Like, is Chris Olave the next, like, it feels almost like the DJ Moore, right? Is he the next DJ Moore where we're waiting for years for a quarterback to ascend him to that next level? Like, what if he just produces another mid to low end wide receiver two season this year? Like, where's his value go then, like at that point? Because even if he does hit, what if he does finish as a wide receiver one, right? What if he finally does go off? Where does that put him? Like, how much higher can we really get? Again, what is the ceiling? Like, how much higher can we put him? Can we put him above like the Jalen Waddle, Malik Neighbors? Maybe, yeah, but that still puts him in, puts him in the top 10-ish, but he's not going to go over guys like Puka, Marv. Like, can he move up a little bit? Sure, but not enough to where like, do you want to make that bet or do you want to try and pick up the assets that you can right now while Olave is valued as a top 12 dynasty wide receiver right now? Right? I'd rather take a piece on top of any of these wide receivers after him. So can you tier up or can you tier or do you want to tier down? You've got options because of where he's valued. Can you tier up to a guy like AJ Brown, Puka, or go after some of the greats like the Amon-Ra, Chase, CDs, JJs, right? Do you have some assets to add on to a guy like Olave? Or do you want to pick up assets and do the tier down? So again, we're looking at just the value that they're at right now. How much higher can it get? Do you want to make that bet or do you want to take advantage of where he's at right now? So what do you guys think about Chris Olave? Because he's held a ton of value and he's been finishing as a wide receiver too. Kind of like Garrett Wilson, but Garrett Wilson's actually got Aaron Rodgers right now. Like, can Carr get it done like with Olave to finish as a wide receiver one? Or Dubes. Much appreciated, new subscriber. Appreciate you, Skeptic. You the man. Appreciate you, bro. Trade Bijan and stuff to get Raw and any first. That's true. Then add Drake to set first and stuff and tier up to Chase. Yeah, it's just getting assets. Can you get some assets that you can use to trade, especially in that kind of format where you need the hammers. You somehow need to get some of those top guys. And, if you have a Drake London and you've got some firsts or some other wide receivers to use to tier up, like that's what you want to do. You want to get those top guys, especially when every team is good. I mean, it's a 10-team start eight, right? There's a lot of good teams. So you definitely need those top guys. But yeah, how do you guys feel about Olave? Are you buying or are you selling Olave? And then we got the last guy. The last guy I'm looking to sell right now is tight end one in the community, Sam Laporta, right? How can we want to sell the tight end one, the young tight end on that offense? Why do we want to sell Sam Laporta? Because he's tight end one. Like, what if he doesn't finish tight end one next year? What if McBride finishes tight end one? What if Kincaid finishes tight end? What if Pitts finishes tight end one? Kelsey. What happens to Sam Laporta then? If some of these other guys finish as the tight end one. So can I take advantage of the value right now and move down to any of those guys? McBride, Kincaid, give me any pick on top. Pitts. Can we go after like a Mark Andrews in a second? A Hawkinson. Can we try and get a first, right? Like Diaz had brought up before. Can we add something else? Or can we add, what can we add to try and get a first on top as well? But Sam Laporta, I mean, 23 years old, like he is the young guy up there. But I feel like you can make a case for like 4 or 5 different guys to be the actual tight end one, especially if Laporta doesn't finish as the tight end one next season. Is there a good chance that McBride can possibly finish as tight end one? Kincaid, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, right? Can you tear down to like a hurt Hawkinson, or older Mark Andrews that was hurt? Right. Depending on your situation, of course, how low do you need to tear down? Do you really need a lot of assets? Do you need to go down to like the Jake Fergusons, the Cole Kmets, the Fryermuths? Like you can get so much for Laporta. And the problem with the tight ends, even Laporta, people don't value them. Like try and use Laporta to go and get like CeeDee Lamb or JJ or Chase or a top quarterback. Like you can't. People don't value the tight end, even though he's tight end one. People don't like want him. People don't want to give up those high end assets. Andrews in the first. There you go. He said he literally saw this. This is what I'm talking about. Can you somehow get a first round pick on top? Like it's out there. People are doing it. People are in love with Laporta. People are in love with him. And you can't tell me that it's guaranteed Laporta is just going to be way better than Trey McBride, way better than Dalton Kincaid, way better than Kyle Pitts or Mark Andrews or even a TJ Hawkinson. I don't think the difference is so much that Laporta should be valued so high. Like he deserves to be valued that high. He did finish as a tight end when he did. He is so young. He's 23 years old, right? But I don't think he's a locked in. I don't think he's Travis Kelsey and then everybody else. It's not like that. I think there's a good tier up there of 3, 4, 5 guys that you can put in that top that can be that tight end one. And I know people don't like to hear that, but that's just the strategy behind it, right? It's not just about the player, right? It's about the strategy. How can you take advantage of the market? How can you gain assets? Like you said, if I can upgrade from Olave to St. Brown, I will. Yeah, the value's up there, right? Can you tier up or can you tier down? But those are 4 guys, a guy at each position that I'm looking to sell right now if I can. Take advantage of the value while you can. Like this is the window of where these guys are valued and how you can try and take advantage. right? This is the market right now that you can try and take advantage of, at least the sell market for these guys. It's funny how like Jalen Waddle gets the contract, and then you see everybody like buy Jalen Waddle, buy Jalen Waddle, bro. Nothing changed except for his contract, and everybody wants to buy him now that the value is up. Like, why would you want to pay top dollar? Like, no, the time to buy Waddle was after the season where we talked about it. That was when you want to buy Waddle, when the value's down, when he finished as wide receiver. What did he finish? Wide receiver 30 something, 40 something, pretty much banged up. Wide receiver 34. Like that was the time to buy him, not when he gets the contract now. And now whoever has him wants to charge more. Like you want to buy at the right times and you want to sell at the right times. Like it's such an important part of Dynasty and taking advantage. It's mostly like just a mental game. When Tua gets the contract, when Jordan Love gets the contract, like those values are just going to be up. People feel safe. People feel safe. But yeah, those are guys I'm looking to sell. Let me know what you guys think. We'll start going over we'll do some rankings and tiers probably starting next week. We'll start with the wide receivers maybe, then hit the running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends. We'll get kind of the off-season dynasty rankings and tiers. So this way you guys can know like where I'm looking at, how I'm valuing certain guys. I mean, just looking at the wide receivers and like the running like wide receiver, it's so hard. Like after like wide receiver 10, 11, like 12. I mean, there's just a huge tier after that. I mean, we've been talking about that all off season. Running backs is like same thing. It's like after like the top five guys, it's like whoever, you know, Achan, Kyron, like they're being valued as like top five guys. I mean, come off at that price. But we'll start getting into that. Appreciate everybody for coming out tonight and watching. Throw any last questions you guys got in the chat before I hop up out of here. Appreciate everybody. And we'll start getting into some roster reviews as well. But yeah, I'm about to get up out of here. I will see y'all next week, Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we are here, the Dynasty Show, every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Relevant 2.01. Thinking Penix, BTJ, or Keon. My team is Mahomes, Lamar, Najee, JJ, Garrett, Wilson, Neighbors, Ingram. Rest all cans. 325 first. Two could be early, including mine. One mid could go the other way. Uh, Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm either taking Penix or trying to get out of that pick for another 25 first, or going BTJ. I mean, I am a Penix guy. I mean, you've got Mahomes, you've got Lamar. Like Penix would be nice just to have. He's basically just the first you have in your pocket or your QB3 at least. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Neighbors, JJ Wilson, Neighbors. Yeah, that's probably the options I'm going. I'm either taking Penix or moving it for a 25 first if possible. If not, I'll just take Penix there. He's safe. You don't have to worry. Multiple seconds and thirds. Try to trade back, But on guys that has a 202, 204, the rest are either not interested or haven't responded. Yeah. Only offer I got was JMO straight. No, fuck no. We're not taking JMO, of course. Not for the 201. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking, DS. I'm probably just taking Penix. If you've already tried to move off, then just give me the quarterback. You know it's safe. Like you know it's the insulated value. You know you've got basically a first in your pocket. You're not taking a chance on Keon. You're not taking a chance on Brian Thomas. Like you could, but I just, you just rather have the quarterback, right? The quarterback is just more valuable, especially once Kirk Cousins goes down or he gets some swelling in his fucking knee week 1, week 2, right? And then Penix is going out there. And then Penix wins 2, 3 games in a row and Kirk is ready to come back and they're like, "Man, Penix has kind of been killing it. Like we can't really just take the rookie out." Like shit like that can happen. It is the back leg of Kirk too, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got to use that to push off. I think Rogers was the front leg, was his left leg. I think Kirk is it's that push off leg, the right leg. No problem, Diaz. Appreciate you. Philip with another gifted membership. Appreciate you, Philip. You the man, Philip. I was taking Penix. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's funny how like Penix is starting to go earlier and earlier and earlier. When everything first went down, it was like taking Penix in the first round. Nobody really wanted to do it. Even early second, like he was going so late. But Isaac, what up, Isaac? What's good? QB controversy? Yeah, for sure, for sure. You don't think there would be like if Kirk goes down, or like I said, maybe he just gets some swelling or some shit, like, and he's out for a game or two. And Penix is doing well, running the offense, like they're winning. Like, what the fuck do you do at that point? You're gonna take the rookie out? So yeah, that's tough. But again, the value goes up. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for when that value goes up. Okay, what can I move him for at that point? Who can I take advantage of at that point? What stud can I go get at that point? You got to share a Penix at the 305. Oh my God, that was not even fair. That's not fair. I moved up. I spent the 26 first to move up to like the 2.6, I think, or the 2.5 to go get Penix in one league. Like I wanted the extra quarterback. I know he's basically is like a first round pick anyway. And I love doing it, but if I'm able to get a quarterback, like I'll take it. You want to take him at the 110? Yeah, yeah, I know you would. I know others won't, so I played chicken to see how far back I could get. I've tried to do that in a few leagues and I got burnt by it. So now I just take them. I just take unless I know for sure like that, the guy that's moving up isn't going to take him. But yeah, I think in 2 leagues I moved back too far by like one pick. One league was 1 pick, one league was 2 picks, where I moved too far back. But all right, guys, let me get up out of here. Appreciate y'all. See y'all next week on Tuesday, 10 Eastern, and we'll start getting into some rankings. Appreciate y'all. I will see y'all on the next one.